Cuyahoga County Operations Intergovernmental Relations Public Transportation Committee, Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment. Mr. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Schrein. Mr. Schrein is absent at the moment. You do not have a quorum.
And we don't need a quorum because it's presentations only. And is there any public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have one, Mr. Gary Fromm.
Mr. Fromm, please come up. This is your public comment time.
Yeah, my name's Gary Fromm. I worked at Planet Joy. I work on Rudolph and umbrellas, on the umbrellas and the bibs and stuff. And
So, Mr. Fromm, you're an artist?
I'm an artist, and I like everybody to come out to see my work.
And Madam Clerk, could you show his work on the screen? Can you describe that to us, Gary?
That's the Rudolph. That's what I draw. It took me a while to do it. It took me a while to do that. And when I do that, it took me a while. I painted that. It took me a while to do that with the marker and the painted.
And that was displayed at the Botanical Gardens.
Yes,
for the
it
last
was.
month. You and the 6 other artists from Planet Joy.
Yes, it was.
And you were able to sell that.
Yes, we did.
And Planet Joy is a subset of Intervention
For peace.
Well, thank you very much. Are you going to invite us out to look at your artwork with your other artists?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Fromm. I appreciate your comments. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion? We don't have a quorum. Shh, Dale, we're pretending. We'll approve the minutes next meeting. Getting to the matters referred to committee, there's none, but the genesis of the meeting is a presentation by charter. We need an internal audit annual review and report, and we're going to have it right now by our new director. Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. I just want to make sure committee members have a report in front of you from the annual update from council that was distributed back in June.
Yes, we do.
And sent out. Okay, thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. I am Corey Swaisgood. I am the Director of Internal Audit, representing the Audit Committee today and the Department of Internal Audit. I want to thank Councilman Sweeney and the council members in attendance for today. Before I get into my presentation, I do want to mention, since this is my first presentation since 2019, I wanted to provide a little background about myself and for any council member who does not know me from my prior role here as the Director of Internal Audit prior to 2020. Prior to my appointment on July 1st of this year, I served as a finance director for the city of Olmsted Falls and the city of Huron. I was a member of the Cuyahoga County's Department of Internal Audit team prior to that for over 6 years. I worked in every position from staff auditor, audit manager, to the Director of Internal Audit. I was actually one of the first staff auditors employed with the department as it was staffed initially in 2012, along with Jeremy Hanel, who is still with the department today. Prior to 2013, I was employed by the Auditor of State's Office as a external auditor. I have a CPA, and I am currently studying to be a certified internal auditor. In my position as director, I ensure completion of the annual audit plan that is approved by the audit committee, and I also ensure achievement of departmental goals and compliance with internal audit professional standards. The audit committee charter requires the committee to annually report to council an evaluation of the committee's performance With the charter also requires council to be briefed on the Department of Internal Audit's highlights and performance statistics during the previous year. So these updates are included in the annual report that was distributed to council back in June of this year and included in your handouts for today's presentation. The report is divided into 3 sections, one being the evaluation of the committee's performance, 2, the Department of Internal Audit's highlights for 2023, and 3, Department of Internal Audit's performance statistics. The report in this presentation satisfies the annual audit plan to council as it was required in the audit committee charter. The agenda for today's presentation is shown on the slides. Other than the 3 topics I just went over, I'll briefly go over the purpose of the audit committee and current members on the committee, and I'll also at the end go over one of the departmental goals for the internal audit department.
Please continue.
The audit committee is an independent committee established in 2010 by the Cuyahoga County Charter. The committee provides oversight to the Department of Internal Audit, which includes review of audit findings and recommendations and approval of the annual audit plan. The committee also oversees and monitors performance of the external auditors and annually reviews the results of the financial external audit and with the external auditor. The committee regularly meets once per quarter every year. The audit committee is comprised of 5 voting members and 2 non-voting members in accordance with the county charter. The voting members include council president and 4 resident members. The 4 resident members are appointed by the executive, confirmed by council for staggered 4-year terms, and must have experience in auditing, accounting, government operations, or financial reporting. The committee elects a chairperson at the first meeting of every year. The non-voting members are the fiscal officer and the county executive. The audit committee was mainly established to provide structured, systematic oversight of the county's governance, risk management, and internal control practices as part of the committee's duties and responsibilities under the audit committee charter. The committee must annually review the council and evaluation of the committee's performance. Pages 4 through 7 of the report lists 18 audit committee charter requirements and 3 county charter requirements. As you can see from the slides and the report, the committee was in full compliance with all 21 charter requirements in 2023, which included monitoring the external audit process and approving the annual audit plan by the Department of Internal Audit. All engagements selected for audit are included in our annual audit plan. Under auditing standards, we are required to annually develop a risk-based audit plan. We conduct an annual risk assessment to develop our annual audit plan by sending out questionnaires and interviewing departments to identify significant risks to the county that may need reviewed by internal audit or audited. The audit plan is reviewed and approved by the audit committee. In 2023, internal audit released 6 reports from audit engagements for various executive agency departments you'll see on these slides, including human resources and the fiscal office. We are also completed our annual risk assessment, 2 reports on issue trackers, and our internal quality assessment review. These are also included with the engagements that are shown on the slide. In addition, the internal audit released 2 consulting engagements in 2023 for Veteran Services and the Office of Budget and Management. Consultant engagements are more advisory in nature. An example would be reviewing current procedures in place to offer advice on improving those procedures to align with best practices or recommending effective internal controls. The nature and scope of these services are agreed upon with the party requesting the services, providing that internal audit staff does not assume management responsibility. Summary of these release reports from 2023 are provided on pages 10 through 12 of the full report, and the detailed issue tracker is attached at the end of the report.
Mr. Director, there's a question from Councilman Miller, and hopefully you don't mind us interrupting because
No, go ahead.
your presentation is very detailed.
So, Mr. Chairman, Director, when you talk about a consultant report, Am I correct in assuming that doesn't mean we engaged an outside consultant? It only means that internal audit itself acted as a consultant in providing this report. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Mr. Miller, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Please continue.
Thank you.
May the record reflect that Councilwoman Simon has joined us and actively participating. I'll get to it. I'm not going to interrupt our presenter, Dale, trying to run the show here. Please continue.
Thank you. Okay, just continuing on the internal audit's highlights in 2023. Internal audit did complete 5 engagements that were carried over from 2023 to 2024, including an audit on housing and community development and fiscal office's bank reconciliation process. In addition to the actual performance of audits, internal audit performs a significant amount of value-added services and support of county agencies and the external audit process while maintaining independence. Internal audit performed our continuous audit follow-up process, which focuses on higher risk findings and ensure corrective action is appropriate, taken in a timely manner. A semi-annual report is released to the audit committee, and an annual report is sent to each agency with all outstanding issues. Council is copied on the annual report of the outstanding issues. In 2023, internal audit did perform its 8th annual risk assessment on county agencies, which resulted in development of the 2024 audit plan. Now, the next few slides do focus on more of the audit process and the follow-up process, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but I do want to mention that we do allow management at least 2 weeks to respond to our audit findings, and that's really just to give them time to ensure that they are notified in the issues well in advance and hopefully see some corrective action, or at least a corrective action plan before the audit is actually issued. So this is the audit process that we share with the auditee prior to engaging and performing the work.
I have a question just on that. You're auditing somebody, you give them the questions. What level do you go? You just talk to the department, or do you, if they don't respond, how does it normally get resolved there? How does the communication occur?
So the communication really does start at the beginning of the year when our audit plan is developed. We communicate to the chief of the area, and then down through the department head and then the staff level. So by the time we actually get to the audit, everyone is aware that we're going to be auditing this area. But questions, answers, and actual field work will be done through like the supervisors, the staff, and getting really down to the root cause and the detailed work and
But
getting those
it's
answers.
you find something, who do you specifically go to? Is it the director of the department? Is it the
Right, it'll be the
manager
director.
of the division? How do you, where do you first go to that to try to get it resolved? Or do you just go back to the chief because that's where you started?
It really depends on what it is, but we typically will start right at the lower level, management supervisor, and then if it needs to be escalated, meaning it's not getting answered or not being corrected, we'll go to the department head and then up to the chief level.
Thank you. Continue.
Again, on the slide, we're providing would be our follow-up process. So the follow-up process occurs after the audit is issued within sometimes 3 to 12 months. We try to follow up on, depending on the risk level of the finding, try to follow up on audit issues. The follow-up process is what I think one of the most important duties of internal audit is making sure not only do we go in and audit and potentially find issues, make recommendations, but are they corrected, are they resolved? So follow-up process is very important. From my experience, I mean, no internal audit function has a perfect science to this follow-up process, so there is room for improvement. It has been modified specifically here at the county many times over the last 10 years to improve efficiency in internal audit. We are currently reviewing this process to identify any other efficiencies that we can gain to ensure timely corrective action. They are currently tracked on a spreadsheet and reported every 6 months to the audit committee and annually to council. So we're currently reviewing methods to try to automate this process a little bit more, reducing redundancies and potentially gaining efficiencies with our own work paper software.
Is that a dollar amount? Is that a funding source that needs to be in place to meet your wishes?
No, Chairman, we actually have a software right now
You
that
just have
has
to
all
get
these
it going.
capabilities that we're looking into.
And another question that came to my mind was, if I have an audit finding, you get it corrected, you follow up with them, how often do they slip back? Or do they, once they have a finding, they get it right and they stay that way? Is there a way to metric that?
I will say, in my experience here, that we have not, there are a lot of areas that we not have been able to follow back up on and do another audit to see if it has slipped back. I think with our 2025 audit plan, there are some audits, actually some of the ones going now, that we are following up and doing audits again that we did 10 years ago. So I don't have a good answer for you, but if they do slip back a little bit, typically we are notified. We'll reach out to the department, to the agency to ask questions about what happened. But as far as, I don't have a number for you to tell you
no,
how
some-
typically it actually, but there's a
Some old
process.
habits are hard to break kind of thing.
Right.
Thank you for the answer.
Right, thank you. As mentioned, we do use a tracking log to monitor and ensure timely resolution of issues. During 2023, internal audit performed follow-up reviews on 105 recommendations. The result of those testing are shown on this slide and on page 15 of the report. 57 recommendations were fully resolved in 2023, which means the audit finding was adequately addressed through corrective action. There were 22 recommendations, or 30% of the recommendations were not resolved or partially resolved, meaning the risk identified has not been fully addressed. All executive agencies with partially or not resolved determinations will receive additional follow-up reviews until it is fully resolved.
Question.
Councilman Miller.
There's a category that was 8 or 9% that says withdrawn. Are those items where your department made a recommendation and then you had further discussion with the department, they responded to it, and in reviewing their response, you decided that there was not a significant risk and you withdrew the recommendation? Is that basically what that part is?
Through the chair to Mr. Miller, that is correct. Anything that's withdrawn, usually it means the risk has been mitigated in some other way,
Oh, okay.
or the risk does not exist anymore. Okay, and finally, the last item on the agenda here, I just wanted to go over with the committee members that one of our department goals for 2024 from the audit committee is to promote the value of internal audit and increase awareness of our role in county government. The department has a detailed plan to address these goals that we're calling the Getting to Know DIA campaign. It's already kicked off with an executive cabinet meeting that we had a presentation at a couple weeks ago. We established 3 initiatives, which you'll see on this slide, which include improving our website, recurring email communication to county staff, and having material for staff on internal audit services and purpose. Council should see some form of this being rolled out over the next 3 to 9 months as you'll be a part of the recurring emails. And then finally, just to let the council know or talk about our staff a little bit more, we are staffed with 6 auditors, including myself. The staff includes 1 audit manager, Josh Alt, who's in attendance here, 2 senior staff auditors, Jeremy Hanel and Tom Schneider, and 2 staff auditors, Dawn Meredith and Tiana Stringer. This is a team of hardworking and dedicated auditors who are a big resource to county departments. I've noticed their dedication in improving our internal audit processes to add more value to county operations since I started here on July 1st. I do want to commend them for their commitment to completing the audit committee approved plan while also improving efficiencies and improvements in our own internal audit processes. So through this campaign, I think many departments will understand that internal audit can be utilized as a valuable resource. Again, I do want to thank Councilman Sweeney and the committee members here today for allowing me to present. I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Director. I like your team approach. You put your whole team out there, you named them all. And 6 folks is enough for the whole county, or that's what you got, and you try to do the best you can, because internal audit could be going on forever, right?
Correct. As you were at the committee meeting this morning, as the newest committee member did mention how 6 staff auditors is, for a county this size, is very low. But yeah, we do the best we can to audit all the high-risk areas every year.
Can you talk about, I'm going to ask some questions if you don't. Talk about the makeup of your commission or your board?
Yes. There's all the committee members are well qualified and have experience with the audit committee, and they're very supportive of what we do and very involved too. So it's a good group.
And you sat with each one of them?
Yes.
You're here in 18 or whenever, and now you're back. How are you going to improve this place?
Yeah, so far I've been back for 4 months. There are some processes, as I mentioned, with the issue tracker that I want to improve, automate some of the processes that we currently have in place. Our risk assessment process we do every year. I think there's some things we can consolidate and gear down to more of what true high risks are to the county and our risk assessment process. Our audit procedures, most automated. I think there's some consolidations and inconsistencies that we could improve on there with our work papers. So it's more internal processes that I think once we get through a new implementation of new standards that we have to do in the next couple months, once we get that process going and finalized, I think we'll have more hours to spend out in the field trying to improve processes of the operations.
Thank you for that answer. And just reporting to council, right? You do it once a year. But when reports happen, keeping us in the loop as the year goes by, and I'm going to break it down to 3 categories. One is regular routine. One is, oh my, and the other one's holy blank. How would you report those to us?
So routinely, I do reach out to council members every year, once a year, right around this time, beginning of the year, to meet to talk about our internal audit plan coming up or any questions council
When you
members
say
might
council members, what does that mean? Individual council members or the
Right.
committee here?
have. Right, yeah.
Which one?
All council members, all 11.
You'll reach out to each one?
I'll reach out to each one individually to meet, like I met with Mr. Miller when I first came back in July. So try to meet annually, at least offer to meet.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
To talk to each council member.
Look forward to sitting with you one-on-one.
The audit committee does serve as, with council president sitting on the audit committee, so that serves as if there's anything really to escalate, going to the committee first, but then if there is anything that I feel that needs to go to council members, like a chair of a committee, I'll offer to sit with one to talk about any potential issues that we may be having that maybe need to be escalated to a point to council.
And just, if something really bad's happening, it's confidentiality, you go to the IG's office, or you go to, how does that, you discover something and it would go to the IG's? And it would go
It
down
depends what it is. We'll follow we have in the audit committee charter and the county charter, and our policies will follow that depending on, if it's investigative related. Obviously, everything needs to go to the IG's office. So we do work closely with the IG and oversight board and PRC, so we're not duplicating work either. But as far as that goes, as referring anything, we'll follow our procedures, which investigative related would go to the IG.
And once it gets to the IG, she does her own thing, and then she follows her own protocols. And
Correct. Right.
okay, good. Before I continue, I'd like to get the approval of the minutes for April 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The approval of the minutes has been confirmed. I'm excited. Thank you. Any questions, Sonny?
Yes. I have a follow-up question, and so how do you Can you provide more detail on how you develop the risk assessment and how you turn that into a plan for the coming year?
Hey, got a couple hours. We can go through that. I'm joking.
That's your
Through-
one-on-one.
Through the chair, the chair to Mr. Miller. Yeah, so we actually began, I mean, really, we're assessing risk all year. Any type of emerging risks that come up, if it needs to be added to our audit plan or amended to our audit plan, we'll go through that. But our formal risk assessment that we do annually really begins in July, August. We have a questionnaire that we have created over the years that we send out to each department, each what we'll call auditable unit. You heard Mr. Molina talking about the audit universe. So each auditable unit, which is a department right now, and any major projects will receive a questionnaire. And in that questionnaire, we have different risks that we apply to every single department, and they will go through and answer to the best of their ability the questions, and we'll get them all back. We have a audit management software that will score every single department and develop a risk assessment report categorizing and ranking all of the auditable units by risk ranking, and we'll choose our audit plan based on that risk ranking, which we stick to all of the higher risk areas. We try to, but then also we try to, with audit coverage, we try to do some audits on some lower risk rating auditable units as well. So it's really just that whole risk assessment process is just really gathering all the data, assessing the risk, and putting it together in a report and ranking all the risk by department, and discussing it with the executive, with council, with the audit committee prior to the end of the year and until it's formally approved. So it's really a 6-month process, I'd call it.
And Mr. Chairman, Director, what distinguishes between what's handled by the IG and what's handled by internal audit?
So I didn't include that in this slide, but I do have a slide of every single independent agency, IG, PRC, and IA, and what the differences between each of them are. I mean, Inspector General is more is the ethics officer, more investigative review for improvement in transparency. On the internal audit side, ours is more of a systematic risk-based approach to improve governance processes, risk management, and internal control practices. So not only are we audit per se, but also what we talked about, advisory, consultant related, where we can review policies and procedures and make recommendations and help improve processes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you. And Councilwoman, or Madam Chairwoman, Sonny Simon.
Thank you, Council Chair. So how many departments have we gone through since the inception of the new government? Have we been able to rotate around with most at one time, at least looking at the departments?
Through the chair to Ms. Simon, so we have 74 what we'll call auditable units. So those are mostly all departments. As far as getting through all of them, 60%, is that, Josh? In the last 5 years, we've gotten through 60% of those auditable units. What our goal is try to get through every single one every 5 years. So obviously
So are you
getting
saying we've gone through all of them once, or in the last 5 years, we did 60%? I guess I'm unclear. Like, it's been a long time. So I'm assuming by now we've gone through at least each unit once.
I don't know what the other 40% is off the top of my head, if we've gotten through them
Have
prior to
never-
5 years.
What about, prior to 5 years is my question.
Prior to 5, I mean, I would say with my experience, that prior to 5 years from now, I don't think we've gotten through every single one of them, even up to the last 5 years. So I mean, I could get you that number, but I'm pretty confident that we haven't gotten through every
Can I get a
single one.
list of what departments' units have not been audited?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the goal is to hit all those, right?
The goal is to hit all of those I think it's every 5 years now, correct? Yes. And we've
So-
hit 60% in the last 5 years, but I'll give you a list
Okay.
of since inception of the department.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing do you audit council?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you audit council? Are they in the rotation?
Yes, we can, yes.
But do you? I don't think you do, but I'd like you to.
No, we have not.
But I'd like you to. I'd like you to everybody. We're not any special than anybody else.
Are we a unit? Sorry.
Yes.
We're one of the units?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. just because I found it odd. And I don't think, is the executive get audited?
Not the, well, all the executive agencies, but not the executive.
I'd
just
like to,
the
everybody.
Office.
It's a
It is an audible unit.
one Cuyahoga County. Thanks, I just remembered that, so thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Daley, the
I
floor is
just-
yours.
I just would also like that list of who has not been audited so far.
Oh, yes, I'll send it to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
And the thing that kind of got me, you want to sit with every council person one-on-one. Quite impressive. You take your job serious, and you're going to be successful with you and your team. I appreciate that, and I'll see you next year.
Thank you very much.
Any
Thank you for your time.
miscellaneous? Well, meeting's adjourned.